My beloved one, this message did not arrive by accident. December 27th is not just a date on the calendar. It is a marked moment, a sign, a hint, a quiet but undeniable approval from God has been released for you today. And Archangel Michael steps forward now with urgency in his voice, saying clearly, this moment cannot be postponed. What happens next does not depend on chance, timing, or other people. It depends on your decision. That is why this message is opening to you right now. Listen closely. Something shifted in the spiritual realm before you even clicked. You may have felt it as restlessness, as pressure on your heart, or as a strange sense that time is moving faster than usual. That is because a door has already begun to open. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. December 27th carries a seal, a divine yes that hath been waiting for your awareness. Archangel Michael says, this is the confirmation you asked for even if you didn't realize how you asked. You did not need perfect words. Your exhaustion, your silence, your private tears, all of it spoke for you. Heaven heard the moment when you said, God, I cannot keep going like this. And now the response has arrived. But hear this carefully, because this is where many people miss it. God's approval does not force outcomes. It authorizes movement. The sign released today is not meant to make the decision for you. It is meant to remove doubt, the hesitation you have been carrying, the endless what-ifs, the fear of choosing wrong. Those chains are being loosened right now. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian of thresholds. He appears when delay becomes dangerous, when waiting any longer would cost you something precious. And he is saying, you have waited long enough. The pause is over. This is why the message feels intense. This is why your spirit feels stirred. This is not pressure. It is alignment. There is something specific connected to your next step. It could be a conversation you have been avoiding, a decision about where you live, what you accept, or what you finally walk away from. It could involve your purpose, your work, or a relationship that has been draining more than it gives. Whatever it is, you already know what it is. The moment I say this, your heart reacts. That reaction is not fear. It is recognition. Archangel Michael says that December 27th is like a hinge. One side holds the old cycle, delay, confusion, repeating lessons, almost but not quite breakthroughs. The other side holds momentum. Not perfection, momentum. Movement backed by divine authority. God is not asking you to see the entire future. He's asking you to choose the direction. This is why the message says this moment cannot be postponed. Postponement is no longer neutral. Waiting now would mean resisting what has already been approved. And resistance always feels like heaviness, anxiety, and spiritual fatigue. The tiredness you feel is not because you are weak. It is because you have been carrying something past its expiration date. Archangel Michael places his sword not against you, but behind you, cutting off the retreat. Not to trap you, but to protect you from returning to what God has already released you from. You are not being rushed into danger. You are being escorted into clarity. Pay attention to the signs around you today. Repeating words, sudden interruptions, unexpected confirmations, even small inconveniences that redirect your plans. These are not random. Heaven is narrowing your path so you can see it clearly. God's approval often comes quietly, but its effects are unmistakable. And here is the most important part. What happens next depends on your decision, not because God is withholding help, but because He has already given permission. The authority has been granted. The The resources will align after obedience, not before. That is how faith activates movement. Archangel Michael says, "Do not confuse comfort with safety. The familiar is no longer safe for you." That sentence may feel sharp, but it is spoken in protection. What once sheltered you now limits you. And God is too faithful to let you stay small once you are ready to expand. This message is opening now because your spirit is ready to hear it. You are not late. You are not behind. You are standing at the exact intersection where heaven intersects with choice. December 27th is your signal. The approval has been released. The sign has been given. All that remains is this: will you step forward while the door is open? Beloved soul, as this message deepens, understand this truth clearly. The sign released on December 27th was not emotional, and it was not symbolic alone. It was directional. Archangel Michael speaks again, not louder, but sharper, saying that clarity is now replacing confusion. The reason things feel exposed inside you is because fog cannot survive where light has been authorized to enter. God is not revealing this moment to overwhelm you. He's revealing it so you stop negotiating with what He has already settled. There is a decision in front of you that you have delayed under the name of wisdom. But heaven calls it hesitation. You told yourself you were waiting for peace, for certainty, for a better sign. Yet this is the sign. The unrest you feel is not because the choice is wrong. It is because the season of indecision has expired. Archangel Michael says that when God releases approval, delay becomes disobedience disguised as caution. Notice how certain patterns have repeated in your life. Same disappointment, different faces. Same frustration, different settings. This is not punishment. This is mercy. God had been circling you back to the same lesson until you were strong enough to choose differently. December 27th marks the moment where the cycle loses its authority. Not because it disappears on its own, but because you decide not to feed it anymore. Archangel Michael is standing beside you as a witness, not a judge. He is watching to see if you will trust what you already know. Deep inside you have felt the nudge to speak up, to step out, to stop settling. You have felt the discomfort of staying quiet when your spirit wanted to rise. That discomfort is holy. It is the signal that your inner alignment is shifting. God's approval does not always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with urgency. Sometimes it comes with a sense of now or never. That is not fear. That is timing. Heaven operates on windows, and this window is open now. What you choose in this moment will echo forward. Not because God is fragile, but because obedience creates momentum that delay cannot access. Archangel Michael says something important here. The enemy you fear is not ahead of you. It is behind you, disguised as familiarity. The comfort of the known has kept you from the calling of the unknown. You have been loyal to situations that stopped being loyal to you. You have been patient in places where patience turned into self-betrayal. God saw every compromise you made to keep peace, and now He is restoring your authority. This is why your heart hath been racing since this message began. This is why your mind keeps returning to one specific issue. Heaven is narrowing your focus. When God wants you to move, He reduces the noise so you cannot pretend not to hear. The decision may feel heavy, but clarity often does before it brings relief. You are not being asked to leap blindly. You are being asked to step deliberately. One honest conversation. One firm boundary. One courageous yes. One necessary no. That is all it takes to shift the entire direction of the next chapter. Archangel Michael says the moment you act, resistance breaks. Not gradually. Immediately. As you receive this, I want you to pause for a second. If this message is resonating, if something inside you feels seen and stirred, let that response become participation. Like this message so it reaches others standing at the same crossroads. Share it with someone who needs confirmation today. Leave a comment declaring that you are choosing clarity over delay. Subscribe to this channel and join the community that walks in alignment, because these messages are not random drops. They are part of a larger unfolding. If you feel led, join the membership and stand with us as we continue releasing what heaven is speaking in this hour. This is not about numbers or algorithms. It is about agreement. When you engage, you are saying yes not just to content, but to the call. Heaven responds to alignment. Archangel Michael says something else now, softer but firm. Do not ask again what has already been answered. Repeated prayer over the same decision can become avoidance. Faith moves when confirmation arrives. And confirmation has arrived today. You may be wondering what happens if you choose wrong. Hear this clearly. God is not waiting to punish you for imperfect steps. He is waiting to support obedient movement. Even missteps are redirected when the heart is aligned. But stagnation has no such grace. Nothing grows there. December 27th is not about forcing outcomes. It is about choosing direction. When direction is chosen, heaven supplies correction along the way. Archangel Michael does not walk ahead of you. He walks with you, guarding the path once you step onto it. As this part closes, stay present. What comes next connects the sign you received to the protection surrounding your next move. Hold on, because this is where everything begins to make sense. Chosen one, as this message unfolds further, the atmosphere shifts from urgency to protection. Archangel Michael does not only appear when decisions must be made, he appears when movement needs covering. The moment you decide, heaven assigns guardianship. That is what is happening now. You are not stepping forward alone. You are stepping forward under watch, under authority, under divine defense. Many people fear what comes after the decision more than the decision itself. Your mind may already be asking, what if things fall apart? But Archangel Michael says what is truly falling apart is what was never meant to survive the next season. God is not dismantling your life. He is dismantling the weak structures that could not carry the weight of where you are going. Notice how certain connections have felt strained lately. Conversations feel forced. Familiar environments feel heavy. This is not rejection. It is redirection. When God approves your next step, alignment begins to shift automatically. Things that cannot follow you begin to loosen their grip. This is mercy, even when it feels uncomfortable. Archangel Michael stands with his wings extended, not as a threat, but as a shield. He says, the resistance you feared will not have permission to touch you once you move. What drains you now is not opposition ahead, but hesitation within. Once the choice is made, the internal war ends. Peace does not come from certainty. It comes from obedience. You may have felt unusually emotional recently. Old memories surfacing. Regret trying to speak. This is not weakness. This is clearing. God is bringing unresolved emotions to the surface so they do not travel with you into the next chapter. Healing is happening quietly while you listen. Nothing is being wasted. Archangel Michael reveals that the delay you experienced before now was not denial. It was preparation. Certain lesson needed to mature. Certain inner strength had to form. If God had moved you earlier, you would have doubted yourself. Now, even though you are cautious, you are no longer fragile. That is why approval has been released now and not before. Understand this clearly. The enemy does not need to stop you if he can keep you undecided. Indecision is the slowest form of defeat. But today, that hold breaks. December 27th becomes a line in the sand. Before this date, you question. After this date, you walk. Archangel Michael says that what you are stepping into will not look dramatic at first. Do not measure progress by noise. Measure it by alignment. You will feel lighter even if circumstances take time to rearrange. That lightness is the sign that you are finally moving with God instead of negotiating with fear. You are not losing anything real. What leaves now leaves because it cannot follow your calling. And what stays will transform to meet your growth. God is not subtracting joy from your life. He is protecting it. There is also restoration attached to this decision. Not instant reward, but steady rebuilding. Confidence returns first, then clarity, then favor, then provision. In that order. Do not rush the sequence. Heaven knows the timing. Archangel Michael says, do not look back for validation. People who benefited from your silence may not understand your boundaries. That does not make them enemies. It simply means your assignment has shifted. You are allowed to outgrow rooms you once prayed to enter. As this part comes to a close, receive this truth. You are not being tested right now. You are being trusted. God does not release approval lightly. If heaven said yes, it is because you are ready to steward what comes next. Now, seal this moment with action. Type "I receive the approval" in the comments if this message is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 1441 has just been released over your decision. And now hear this from my heart to yours. This message is not reaching you by chance. It is flowing like oil meant to reach others who are still trapped in delay. When you choose to support this work through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal donation found in the description, you are sowing light into places where confusion still rules. I hear the Lord say, those who release oil will never lack it. Your support becomes seed, and God turns seed into harvest that touches souls you may never meet. This is not a donation. It is a prophetic response. I speak blessing over every giver. May open heavens follow your obedience, and may God return to you pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. Obey now. Release the seed. Let God multiply what you place in His hands. Beloved heart, now that the approval has been released and the decision has been acknowledged in the Spirit, a new phase begins quietly but powerfully. Archangel Michael speaks not with urgency now, but with steadiness. He says this is the stage where your inner posture matters more than outer speed. Many rush after choosing, afraid the door might close again. But heaven is not asking you to run. Heaven is asking you to stand differently. After a divine yes, the first test is not opposition from others. It is the temptation to doubt what you already discerned. Your mind may replay old fears, old warnings, old voices that once sounded wise. This is normal. When authority shifts, the echoes of the past try to reclaim space. But Archangel Michael says those echoes have no power unless you agree with them again. You are entering a period where silence will speak louder than explanation. You do not need to convince anyone of your choice. Clarity does not argue. Alignment does not defend itself. The more grounded you become in what God approved, the less you will feel the need to justify your steps. This is maturity, not distance. Peace does not announce itself. It simply remains. There is also a recalibration happening inside you. Your reactions are changing. Things that once triggered you now feel distant. This is not numbness. This is healing. God is strengthening your inner boundaries so external chaos does not rule your emotions anymore. Archangel Michael says this is how spiritual authority settles into a person. Calm replaces urgency. Discernment replaces anxiety. You may notice that your appetite for certain conversations, content, or environments is decreasing. This is not loss. This is refinement. When God approves your next level, your tolerance for distraction drops. What once entertained you now exhausts you. What once felt necessary now feels optional. This is how God clears space without force. Archangel Michael also warns gently here. Do not mistake stillness for stagnation. Just because things are quieter does not mean nothing is happening. Roots grow in silence. Foundations set without applause. Heaven often does its deepest work where no one is watching. Resist the urge to measure progress by visible proof. Trust what is being built underneath. There is protection around you right now that you cannot see. Certain attacks that could have reached you no longer can. Certain doors that would have drained you are quietly closing. You may not even notice what you were spared from. And that is intentional. God's best protection often looks like nothing happened. You are also being trained to listen differently. Not every voice deserves equal weight anymore. Discernment sharpens when obedience is practiced. Archangel Michael says your sensitivity will increase, but your confusion will decrease. You will know when to move and when to wait without torment. That is freedom. Some relationships may shift during this time. Not dramatically, but gradually. Conversations shorten. Frequency changes. This is not abandonment. This is alignment adjusting. God is teaching you that not everyone needs access to every version of you. Privacy becomes sacred when purpose expands. You might feel moments of loneliness even while being protected. Understand this clearly. Separation is not isolation. God often creates distance so your identity is no longer negotiated by other people's expectations. This season is teaching you to hear God's voice without static. Once that clarity stabilizes, connection returns at a healthier level. Archangel Michael says something crucial here. Do not rush to fill the space God cleared. Empty space is not a problem. It is an invitation. Many people sabotage divine transitions by filling silence with noise. Let the quiet do its work. Let your spirit catch up with your decision. There is also joy ahead, but it arrives differently now. It is not the excitement of escape, but the relief of alignment. A deep exhale. A sense of rightness. You may smile without knowing why. That is your spirit settling into truth. As you move through this phase, be gentle with yourself. You are unlearning survival patterns and learning trust patterns. That takes grace. God is not grading your performance. He is guiding your formation. Archangel Michael stands watch, not waiting for you to be perfect, but ensuring that what God approved cannot be stolen through doubt. The path ahead does not require force. It requires consistency. One aligned step at a time. Receive this assurance as this part closes. Nothing that is meant for you will miss you now. The door opened because you were ready. And what God opens, no confusion can shut. Beloved one, as you continue forward, a subtle but powerful transition takes place within you. This is the stage where faith shifts from decision to embodiment. Archangel Michael says this is where many people unknowingly turn back, not because they regret the choice, but because they underestimate the importance of consistency. The enemy does not always attack with fear. Sometimes he waits, hoping you will grow tired of being intentional. You may notice that life begins to look normal again. The intensity of the moment fades. The urgency quiets. This is not a sign that the approval has lifted. It is a sign that alignment is settling into routine. What once felt like a divine interruption now becomes a way of life. And that is where true transformation happens. God is teaching you to live from conviction, not emotion. Emotional highs fade, but conviction anchors. Archangel Michael says, "Do not seek another sign to validate what has already been sealed." Faith matures when it no longer needs constant reassurance. You are learning to walk even when heaven feels silent. This is also the phase where self-discipline becomes sacred. Not punishment, not pressure, but devotion. Small daily choices matter more than dramatic gestures. What you think about when no one is watching. How you speak to yourself when plans shift. Where you invest your energy. These quiet habits build the future you prayed for. You may encounter mild resistance now. Not dramatic opposition, but subtle tests. Distractions. Invitations that almost pull you back into old cycles. Opportunities that look good but feel off. This is discernment training. Not everything good is God for you. Archangel Michael says your yes must become selective now, because your assignment carries weight. There is also a refinement of patience happening. God is teaching you to trust process instead of rushing outcome. The desire to see immediate results may surface. You may wonder if you misheard. But hear this clearly. Growth that lasts is rarely fast. What God is building in you must be strong enough to sustain blessing without collapsing under it. Archangel Michael stands firm here, reminding you that spiritual maturity is not proven by how fast things happen, but by how steadily you remain aligned when they don't. Your stability is your testimony in this season. You may also begin to see glimpses of what is ahead. Small confirmations, quiet affirmations, a sense of right timing. Do not chase these glimpses. Receive them, but keep walking. God gives previews to encourage, not to distract. This season also invites rest without guilt. Rest is not retreat. It is maintenance. Even Archangel Michael stands watch while others rest. You are allowed to pause without fearing loss. What is meant for you will not disappear because you took care of yourself. There is something else happening that you may not notice immediately. Your discernment about people is sharpening. You sense intentions more clearly. You feel when energy shifts. This is not suspicion. This is wisdom. God is tuning your perception so you no longer overextend yourself emotionally. Archangel Michael says that you are learning how to guard what God is growing. Not everything deserves access. Not everyone needs explanation. Boundaries are not walls. They are gates. As this part nears its close, receive this reassurance. You are not behind. You are not stalled. You are not doing this wrong. What feels uneventful is actually foundational. The quiet seasons are often where the strongest roots form. Continue to show up. Continue to choose alignment even when it feels ordinary. Continue to trust what God approves. The momentum is building beneath the surface. Archangel Michael remains with you, ensuring that what began with divine approval continues with divine protection. And soon, what has been forming quietly will begin to show itself openly. Beloved soul, this phase carries a different kind of weight. Archangel Michael says this is the moment where alignment begins to attract attention, both seen and unseen. Not because you announced anything, but because when a person walks in quiet authority, the atmosphere around them changes. You may notice people responding to you differently. Some feel drawn. Others feel uncomfortable. This is not about you personally. It is about what you now carry. After consistency comes visibility. Not public fame, but spiritual visibility. When you walk in obedience, heaven recognizes you, and so does resistance. But do not misunderstand this. Resistance does not mean danger. It means relevance. Archangel Michael stands firm here, saying that nothing confronting you now is stronger than what protects you. You may experience moments where old fears try to resurface. Thoughts like, who do you think you are? Or what if this doesn't last? These are not prophecy. They are echoes of an expired identity. The old version of you survived by shrinking. The new version advances by standing. Fear speaks loudest when it knows it is losing influence. God is also strengthening your discernment around timing. You are learning when to speak and when to remain silent, when to act and when to wait. This is not hesitation anymore. This is wisdom. Archangel Michael says many people confuse impulse with courage. True courage moves when instructed, not when pressured. There may be moments where you feel misunderstood, where others cannot see the inner work God has done. Resist the urge to explain your transformation to people who are committed to seeing you through an old lens. Explanation drains energy. Alignment conserves it. This is also a season of spiritual stamina. You are learning how to remain grounded without constant emotional stimulation. Faith that lasts does not depend on constant reassurance. It rests in truth. God is training you to trust His word even when feelings fluctuate. Archangel Michael says something important here. Do not confuse resistance with reversal. Just because challenges arise does not mean you step outside God's will. Often, challenges confirm you stepped into it. Opposition does not cancel approval. It reveals it. At the same time, heaven is inviting you to stay connected. Do not isolate yourself spiritually. If this message is strengthening you, engage with it. Like this video so it continues reaching those who need direction right now. Share it with someone who feels stuck between decision and action. Leave a comment declaring that you are standing firm in what God approves. Subscribe to this channel so you stay aligned with what heaven is releasing in this season. Join the membership if you feel led, because walking together sustains strength. This is not about promotion. It is about perseverance. Agreement multiplies power. As you do this, stay alert. This next stretch carries insight you will want to hear clearly. Hold on, because what unfolds next brings understanding to why certain delays were necessary and why timing matters more than speed. Archangel Michael now shifts the focus inward again. He says that endurance is being built in you. Not the endurance that tolerates suffering, but the endurance that sustains purpose. You are learning how to move forward without burning out, how to care for your spirit while pursuing obedience. You may notice that your priorities are rearranging. Things that once consumed your attention now feel optional. Things that once felt small now feel meaningful. This is recalibration. God is aligning your focus with your future. There is also healing happening around disappointment. Old unmet expectations are being released. You are no longer measuring God by what didn't happen before. You are trusting Him with what is unfolding now. That shift alone unlocks peace. Archangel Michael says you are stepping into a posture of watchfulness, not anxiety. Awareness without fear. Confidence without arrogance. This balance is rare, and it is cultivated through obedience. As this part closes, receive this assurance. You are not merely holding on. You are growing stronger. What once would have shaken you now passes without uprooting you. This is evidence of transformation. Stay present. Stay aligned. What comes next will reveal how everything you endured connects to where you are going. Beloved one, As you move deeper into this unfolding, something internal stabilizes. Archangel Michael says this is the phase where identity catches up with obedience. Earlier, you chose alignment even when parts of you were still unsure. Now, your inner world is beginning to agree with your outer steps. This is powerful, because when identity aligns, effort decreases. You are no longer forcing yourself forward. You are walking as who you are becoming. You may notice that you are less reactive than before. Situations that once triggered anxiety now invite reflection instead. This is not emotional suppression. This is authority settling in. When fear loses its grip, peace no longer feels fragile. It becomes durable. God is teaching you that calm can coexist with uncertainty. Archangel Michael explains that this stage is where many people finally stop fighting themselves. The inner debate quiets. The constant questioning fades. You begin to trust your discernment, not because you know everything, but because you know who is guiding you. The trust changes how you move through daily life. There is also a shift in how you view time. Urgency gives way to intention. You no longer feel rushed to prove anything. You understand that purpose unfolds, not performs. This patience is not passive. It is focused. You are learning to invest energy where it multiplies rather than drains. You may also experience a deepening of spiritual awareness. Moments of insight arrive unexpectedly. You see connections you missed before. Past events begin to make sense. This is not hindsight regret. This is wisdom forming. God often waits until the heart is ready before revealing the meaning of certain delays. Archangel Michael says this clarity is a gift, but it requires humility to hold it well. Do not use understanding to judge your past self. Honor who you were when you didn't know what you know now. Compassion for your journey keeps your heart soft and teachable. This phase also brings discernment about rest. You are learning the difference between rest that restores and rest that avoids. True rest renews vision. Avoidance dulls it. God is guiding you into rhythms that sustain growth without exhaustion. You may feel moments of quiet joy. Not excitement, not adrenaline, but a gentle sense of contentment. A joy is a signal. It means your spirit is no longer at war with your direction. Alignment produces peace before it produces results. Archangel Michael stands near, observing how you steward this peace. He says peace is not meant to be hoarded. It is meant to be protected. That means being intentional about what you allow into your mental and emotional space. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves a response. There may still be uncertainty ahead. Do not mistake clarity for complete knowledge. God rarely reveals the full picture at once. He reveals enough to keep you moving without becoming prideful. Dependence is preserved through partial sight. You are also learning that not every delay is resistance. Some delays are alignment catching up. People, resources, and circumstances are being positioned to meet you at the right time. If things feel slow, it is because precision is at work. Archangel Michael says something reassuring here. What is meant to meet you will not require chasing. When the time is right, doors open without strain. Until then, patience is not wasted. It is invested. This is also a season of quiet confidence. You do not announce your strength. You live it. Others may sense the change without understanding it. Let them wonder. Transformation does not require explanation. As you move through this stage, remember that growth is not linear. Some days feel steady. Some feel heavy. That does not mean you are regressing. It means you are human. God is not disappointed by fluctuations. He looks at direction, not daily emotion. Archangel Michael reminds you that your obedience has already altered the course of your future. Even on days when nothing seems to happen, something is shifting. Seeds planted earlier are germinating unseen. As this part comes to a close, receive this assurance. You are no longer walking out of fear of staying stuck. You are walking because you trust where God is leading. That shift changes everything. Remain grounded. Remain attentive. The next phase brings revelation about provision and favor that aligns with the path you chose. Beloved child, as you step into this portion of the journey, Archangel Michael reveals a truth many never fully grasp. Provision follows alignment, not pressure. This is the stage where heaven begins to respond outwardly to what you settled inwardly. You may not see sudden overflow yet, but you will notice something just as powerful. Strain begins to lift. The weight you carried trying to make things work starts to ease, because God is now carrying what you surrendered. You are entering a phase where favor replaces force. Before you put doors, explain yourself, prove your value. Now, doors open with less resistance. Conversations flow differently. Help appears without you begging for it. This is not coincidence. This is confirmation. When God approves a path, He also assigns provision to sustain it. Archangel Michael says that many of your past struggles were not because you lacked faith, but because you were trying to receive provision in a place God had already marked as temporary. Provision dries up where purpose expires. That is why things felt so hard before. You were trying to extract life from a season that had already ended. Now that you have moved, even subtly, the atmosphere changes. Resources respond to obedience. Not always immediately, but inevitably. God is not slow. He is precise. He knows exactly when to release what will strengthen you without distracting you. You may notice opportunities aligning in unexpected ways. A conversation that leads somewhere. An idea that suddenly feels viable. A solution that arrives right when you stop striving. This is how favor works. It meets you in motion, not in fear. Archangel Michael also brings a warning here, spoken gently, but clearly. Do not romanticize lack. Struggle is not holiness. God does not withhold provision to teach suffering. He withholds to protect timing. Now that alignment is in place, receive without guilt. Accept help without shame. You are not weak for needing support. You are human. This season will also test your trust in new ways. Provision may not come from familiar sources. God often uses unexpected channels to ensure you recognize the source. Stay open. Stay humble. Pride can block what fear could not. You are also learning stewardship now. How you handle small increases matters. How you manage peace matters. How you respond to ease matters. Favor is not just about receiving more. It is about carrying it well. Archangel Michael says, do not rush to announce what God is quietly building. Let results speak. Let consistency testify. You are being trained to value substance over appearance. As provision begins to align, generosity becomes an invitation. Not obligation, but overflow. What God gives is meant to move. When you release, heaven releases more. This is a spiritual law, not manipulation. There is a ripple effect attached to your obedience. Others are watching without telling you. Your courage is permission for someone else to move. Your peace is evidence that God is faithful. You are influencing more than you realize. Now pause here. If this message continues to speak to your spirit, seal it with faith. Type "I walk in divine provision" in the comments if you receive this word. Blessing code 2626 is now activated over your life. And now, let this flow naturally into action. I speak to those who feel the stirring to support this work. This message carries oil meant to reach hearts still trapped in delay. When you release a seed through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal in the description, you are not funding a channel. You are fueling a calling. I hear the Lord say, as you open your hand, I open the windows of heaven. Your giving becomes a prophetic response, a now moment of obedience tied to this very word. I bless every supporter with multiplied provision, peace in their house, and clarity in their decisions. Do not delay when God prompts you. So now, release it. Let heaven respond. Stay with this. What unfolds next reveals how this provision connects to legacy and long-term impact beyond what you imagined. Beloved one, as this journey continues, Archangel Michael draws your attention beyond the immediate and into what will remain. This is the stage where God begins to shift your focus from survival to legacy. Earlier, the concern was making it through, choosing correctly, staying aligned. And now, the question subtly changes. It becomes, what will this obedience produce over time? What will last because you chose to move when heaven said now? You may notice that your prayers are changing. You are no longer asking only for relief. You ask for purpose, for meaning, for impact. This is not ambition. This is maturity. God is expanding your vision because your foundation is stable enough to hold it. Archangel Michael says vision is only dangerous when character is unprepared. You have been prepared quietly. This phase invites you to think beyond immediate outcomes. You begin to sense that your choices are not just about you anymore. Your obedience affects environments, relationships, even future generations. You may not have words for it yet, but you feel the weight of significance. That weight is not pressure. It is stewardship awakening. Archangel Michael explains that legacy does not begin with recognition. It begins with consistency. What you repeat becomes what you pass on. The habits you form now, the boundaries you keep, the integrity you protect, these shape more than moments. They shape pathways for others to walk later. You may feel called to be more intentional with your time. Certain distractions no longer appeal. Certain conversations feel shallow. This is not judgment. It is focus sharpening. When God entrusts legacy, He refines attention. There is also a deepening sense of responsibility around your voice. You become more careful with words. You understand that speech carries weight. What you affirm grows. What you tolerate multiplies. Silence becomes a tool, not avoidance. Speaking becomes purposeful, not reactive. Archangel Michael says this is where many underestimate their influence. You may feel ordinary, unnoticed, still figuring things out. But heaven measures differently. Faithfulness in hidden places echoes loudly in the spirit. What seems small to you may be shaping someone else's courage. You may also begin to reflect on your past differently. Not with regret, but with gratitude. You see how even painful seasons taught you discernment. How delays taught patience. How disappointment taught compassion. God wastes nothing. Legacy is built from redeemed history. This phase also brings clarity about what you will no longer compromise. Legacy requires restraint. Not every opportunity aligns with your assignment. Not every door should be entered. Discernment protects longevity. Archangel Michael warns gently here. Do not confuse urgency with importance. Some things feel pressing but are temporary. Some things feel quiet but are eternal. Learn to choose what lasts over what shines briefly. You may sense a calling to invest in others more intentionally, encouraging, teaching, supporting. This does not require a platform. It requires presence. Legacy flows through relationship before it ever reaches scale. There is also healing around the fear of being forgotten. God assures you that obedience leaves a mark. Even if people never upload heaven record, you are known. You are seen. You are remembered. Archangel Michael says something profound here. You do not need to build a name. You need to build trust. Trust creates continuity. Trust allows what you start to continue beyond you. As you walk through this phase, patience becomes essential again. Legacy is slow by nature. It grows quietly, like roots spreading underground. Do not dig it up to check if it's working. Trust the process. You may still face challenges. Legacy does not mean ease. It means endurance with purpose. When trials come now, they refine rather than derail. You recover faster. You learn quicker. You remain grounded. There is also a deep peace forming around the future. Not certainty, but assurance. You know that even if paths shift, God's hand remains. That confidence steadies you. Archangel Michael stands watch, ensuring that fear of failure does not shrink your vision. Failure does not disqualify legacy. Quitting does. And you are no longer someone who quits when it matters. As this part closes, receive this truth into your spirit. Your obedience on December 27th was not just a moment. It was a marker. It redirected your future toward something that will outlive temporary seasons. Remain faithful. Remain attentive. What comes next will speak to culmination, completion, and the final release tied to everything you have walked through. Beloved one, as this message moves closer to its culmination, Archangel Michael speaks about completion without haste. This is a sacred stage. Many start strong. Few finish aligned. God is not interested in how grammatically you began. He is attentive to how faithfully you continue. What you are learning now is how to remain steady when the novelty wears off and the calling becomes a responsibility. You may sense that life feels fuller now, not necessarily easier, but more meaningful. You are no longer just reacting to circumstances. You are responding from conviction. A difference changes everything. Decisions are no longer made from panic, but from discernment. You pause. You listen. You choose with intention. This is evidence that wisdom has taken root. Archangel Michael says this phase is about endurance with clarity. Earlier, endurance was about survival. Now, it is about stewardship. You are guarding what God entrusted to you. That includes your peace, your focus, your time, and your spiritual sensitivity. You are learning that burnout is not a badge of honor. Consistency outlasts intensity. There may be moments where progress feels slower than you expected. This is not regression. This is refinement. God slows pace to strengthen structure. Anything built too fast collapses under pressure. What God is establishing in you must withstand seasons, not just moments. You may also notice a heightened awareness of spiritual boundaries. You are quicker to disengage from what drains you. You recognize when conversations shift your focus away from purpose. This is not arrogance. This is stewardship of attention. Where your attention goes, your life follows. Archangel Michael reminds you that obedience does not mean isolation. You are still called to love, to listen, to serve. But you are no longer called to absorb what is not yours to carry. Discernment teaches you when compassion becomes self-neglect. Balance is being restored. This phase also brings a deeper understanding of timing. You no longer rush God, and you no longer delay obedience. You move when prompted. You rest when instructed. That rhythm protects you from extremes. You are learning to flow instead of forcing. There is also a quiet confidence forming around your future. You do not need constant reassurance. You trust that God is active even when you cannot see immediate evidence. Faith becomes less about feeling and more about knowing. That knowing anchors you when emotions fluctuate. Archangel Michael says something important here. Completion does not mean perfection. It means faithfulness to the end. You may stumble. You may adjust. But you do not abandon the path. That perseverance is what heaven honors. As you remain in this alignment, your influence stabilizes. People begin to trust your consistency. Not because you speak louder, but because you live steadily. Reliability becomes your testimony. Now, pause here for a moment. If this message continues to guide you, engage with it. Like this video so the word keeps reaching those standing at the same crossroads you once stood at. Share it with someone who needs clarity instead of confusion. Leave a comment declaring that you are committed to finishing what God started. Subscribe to this channel and join the community walking in discernment and obedience. If you feel led, become a member and stand with us as these messages continue unfolding. Agreement sustains momentum. Before you move on, stay present. This next part carries a final layer of revelation that brings everything together. You will want to hear how all of this resolves. Archangel Michael now speaks with calm authority. He says the strength you carry now was forged in unseen places. The doubts you overcame, the delays you endured, the obedience you practiced when no one applauded, all of it prepared you for completion. You are no longer driven by fear of missing out. You are anchored by trust. That trust keeps you from chasing what is not yours and from abandoning what is. This discernment protects your future. There may still be questions ahead. Faith does not eliminate uncertainty. It gives you courage to walk with it. You are no longer paralyzed by what you do not know. You move with what you do. As this part closes, receive this assurance. You are closer than you realize. Not just to an outcome, but to fulfillment. What began with a sign on December 27th is moving toward completion with purpose. Remain attentive. Remain faithful. What comes next is the final sealing of everything God has spoken. Beloved soul, as this journey approaches its final movement, Archangel Michael brings your attention to integration. This is the stage where everything you have learned, endured, and chosen begins to merge into who you are, not just what you do. Earlier parts shaped your decisions. This part shapes your identity. You are no longer someone trying to apply spiritual truth. You are becoming someone who lives from it naturally. You may notice that you no longer feel the need to constantly reflect on the past. The lessons are still there, but they no longer ache. Memory has softened into wisdom. Pain has turned into understanding. This is healing reaching completion. God does not erase history. He redeems it so it no longer controls you. Archangel Michael says this is where inner authority stabilizes. You trust yourself because you trust God in you. That trust quiets the inner critic that once questioned every step. You no longer rehearse worst-case scenarios. You prepare wisely, but you expect God to meet you. That expectation changes how you approach life. There is also a noticeable shift in how you handle pressure. Situations that once overwhelmed you now meet resistance within you, not panic. You respond thoughtfully. You recover faster. You do not spiral as deeply or as long. This is not emotional numbness. This is resilience. God is teaching you how to carry responsibility without losing joy. That balance is rare. Many either avoid responsibility or let it consume them. You are learning how to be present, committed, and still at peace. Archangel Michael says this balance is a sign of maturity. You may also feel a deeper connection to purpose without needing constant reminders of it. Purpose no longer feels like a destination you are chasing. It feels like a direction you are walking in daily. This steadiness removes anxiety about the future. You are less concerned about exact outcomes and more committed to faithful movement. There is also clarity about what you will protect at all costs. Your peace, your integrity, your alignment. You are no longer willing to trade these for approval, speed, or comfort. This resolve is not rigid. It is ruin. When roots are deep, storms do not uproot. Archangel Michael reminds you that strength does not always look forceful. Sometimes it looks like restraint, choosing not to react, choosing not to explain, choosing not to engage. These choices preserve energy for what truly matters. You may notice that you are becoming more selective with your commitments. You understand that saying yes to everything dilutes effectiveness. Focus increases impact. God is refining your assignment, not expanding it recklessly. There is also a renewed sense of gratitude forming, not just for victories but for growth. You are thankful for who you have become, not just what you have gained. Gratitude grounds you. It keeps pride away and joy close. Archangel Michael says something important here. Integration is when obedience stops feeling heavy. You are not forcing alignment anymore. It feels natural. You are not trying to be faithful. You are faithful because it is who you are now. This phase also prepares you for closure. Not endings filled with loss, but endings filled with fulfillment. Some chapters do not need dramatic conclusions. They simply fade because their work is done. You do not mourn them. You honor them and move on. You may sense a quiet anticipation building. Not anxiety, but readiness. Like standing at the edge of something complete. This readiness is not impatience. It is awareness. You recognize that God has been faithful through every stage, and that gives you confidence in what comes next. Archangel Michael stands beside you now, not urging, not warning, but affirming. He says, you have done what was required. Not perfectly, but faithfully. Heaven values faithfulness over flawlessness. As this part closes, receive this truth deeply. You are not the same person who first heard the sign on December 27th. You are stronger, clearer, and more grounded. What began as urgency has become stability. What began as decision has become identity. Remain open. Remain humble. One final movement remains, where everything is sealed, blessed, and released in fullness. My beloved child, this is the sealing. Archangel Michael stands now not as a messenger of urgency, but as a witness of completion. What began as a sign has become a path. What felt like pressure has transformed into purpose. December 27th was not only the day approval was released, it was the day alignment was accepted, and heaven had been watching every step since. You are not arriving at an ending. You are arriving at integration with authority. The waiting season, the wrestling, the hesitation, the quiet courage, all of it converges here. God does not rush endings. He seals them. And what is sealed by God cannot be undone by doubt, delay, or distraction. Archangel Michael says the most powerful thing about you now is not what you overcame, but what no longer has power over you. Fear does not govern your decisions. The past does not dictate your direction. The opinions of others no longer define your worth. That is freedom, not loud, not dramatic, but unshakable. You may not fully see yet how far-reaching this obedience will be. Some results will appear quickly. Others will unfold slowly, over time. But make no mistake, the trajectory has changed you. Heaven has marked your steps. What once required effort will now require faithfulness. And faithfulness you have learned. There will be moments ahead when you remember this message. Not because you need reassurance, but because you will recognize the fruit. A peace you didn't have before. A door that opens without strain. A strength that surprises you. In those moments, you will know this was real. Archangel Michael declares that this chapter closes with blessing, not loss. You are not leaving anything behind that was meant to last. Everything essential moves forward with you. God never subtracts without multiplying. What you released created space. What you obeyed unlocked provision. From this point on, your discernment will protect you. Your patience will guide you. Your peace will anchor you. You are no longer being prepared. You are being positioned. And hear this clearly. If you ever wonder whether your obedience mattered, remember this. Heaven does not respond to indecision with approval. Approval was released because you were ready to act. You were trusted, and that trust was not misplaced. Archangel Michael now speaks blessing over your future steps. He says resistance will not overtake you. Delay will not trap you again. Confusion will not dominate your mind. When challenges arise, they will refine, not derail. When opportunities come, discernment will keep you aligned. You are stepping forward not as someone hoping God will catch you, but as someone who knows God is already there. Now seal this final word. Type "I walk in completion" in the comments if this message has spoken to your spirit. Blessing code 9090 is now activated over your life. And now, from my spirit to yours, receive this final call. This word did not come to you alone. It was released to travel, to reach hearts still waiting for permission to move. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or PayPal donation found in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are sowing obedience into the harvest of souls. I hear the Lord say, "Those who help carry my voice will never lack my provision." Your giving is a prophetic act, a holy response to this moment. As you release, may God release back to you clarity, increase, and peace that cannot be shaken. Do not delay what God has prompted. Obey now. So now, let heaven multiply what you place in His hands.